Oh yeah, so I did this like numerology thing, and I changed your nickname from Eric Strauss to Host Eric. So, just did that for you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
One of these days, I'll finally achieve my goal, and I'll be able to express all of existence in a single funny face meme. You get my message? Did you email it to me or Facebook me? I don't go on Facebook very often. Let's see. What is this? Notifications. Oh, I guess I should probably confirm that. I don't see anything. You said it's the right Eric Strauss. I'm the one who's me. Oh, I see. There it is. Howdy. Marty Glenn. I may just do that. I may just do so. Who knows? May 28th? Oh, for Christ's sakes, these people with their crazy nonsense. I tell you. What's this one? I wasn't talking about your video. Email anthrax. I was talking about this other thing that I saw from May 28th.
Oh my gosh. I just thought about how if Delilah goes, so her friend is also in Boston, and they're going to take a trip from New York to Boston. It's not two, it's definitely more like 3 hours than 2. But it's definitely worth it if you're traveling there and doing all that. I'd do it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me mute this thing.
Next time she's on. I told her.
I know. I'm listening to this thing. I'm not sure if it was going to cause me any.
Questions I've asked many times by many people who attack typology as non-science, pseudoscience, unsciency, or not empirical.
Empirics. Is that the only thing that's keeping us from knowing exactly how to type people? Because we can pick out the cognitive functions depending on what somebody says. Their sentences betray their very functions.
How am I? I am fine.
What else is out there that we're missing? I mean, do we not have people out there who are already doing this? Already testing the cognitive functions by sentence structure and then picking out exactly where they are and how they're being expressed?
I can't screw up on school. It's an extrovert sensing statement. Yeah, great.
Yes, I feel the need to get. Hey, if she's bet.
Of course.
So what's the what's your point or your advocacy or whatever, you know? This is a disclaimer for the following video. The following is a collection of opinions and theories over time to help build my own life philosophy. The following may be considered non-factual. These ideas are factual in my own mind. I do not claim responsibility for any harms caused by integrating these ideas into your life. Okay. I see. So, I mean, I think you need to let my only sort of critique, so to speak, of it is that I think you need to let that text sit there longer, because it's kind of critical to understanding what it is that you're trying to do with it. You know, it's like when I was watching, I wasn't sure if you were in favor of everything being said, if you were just sort of surveying things being said. Is that you who's talking and you can't see your face? I wasn't. There was one part where the captions stopped going, so I didn't hear what you said. I'll have to check it out. I mean, I have to pay more attention to it. Basically, I wasn't listening to what you were saying specifically. Let me play it right now. Can we just play it here on this? I guess we can't really play it in here because
witness, some invisible force from your own unconscious is telling you this is what this is now. It's two elderly men talking to each other like they're 12 years old. There needs to be a new awakening, a new change.
who are the two elderly men talking to each other like they're 12 years old? Like Biden and Trump? I mean, the thing is, I don't like that guy who the video starts with, Russell Brand. I don't like him at all. But in this particular instance, if that's what he's saying, then I agree with him. Anyway, you know, he's right, but I don't like him. I don't like the way I don't like his vibe. I don't like his FI. I just don't like it.
What do you think about him when he and Katy Perry were married?
I still didn't like him. I never liked him.
I don't really like him either.
He's email anthrax. I'm not blaming you. That's a good point. You know, I agree. He's right in this instance. That's except the problem is, I know that when he says awakening, he means some crazy nonsense. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But besides that, I do agree that, as I've said many times myself, the state of political discourse is a serious problem. Now, I mean, I agree that typology ought to be afforded more legitimacy than it is, and or that people need to revisit their understandings of what comprises legitimacy. I can't another freaking phone call from this. No, that wasn't my phone. I keep getting these spam calls. I'm trying to tell me it's the Social Security Administration or something, you know. So it's interesting. I'm glad to see that you're making a video to take a stance on typology. I think we're quite a long ways from there being any sort of broad acceptance of it. And the reason in part is because there's a lot of misinformation out there. It didn't seem like C.S. Joseph said anything particularly misinformation-y in that instance. He just talks a little shit about MBTI because it doesn't include cognitive functions. So you probably chose wisely and avoided BS, which is good. But I mean, the problem is, it's like all of psychology and soft sciences in general are struggling to sustain any kind of legitimacy in the academic community, for lots of good reasons. There was this big controversy about people tweaking the P. Is that what it was? Or is it the Q? There's this one variable in statistics that you can adjust it in certain ways to get something that might be noise in the data to turn out to be, oh, now it's statistically significant. All we just have to do is move the P over a little bit. Well, of course, that's like all of social science, you know. Why leave it up to science? I mean, we're not leaving it up to science. You make a good point in the video when you say it is being done right now. People are doing typological work. The problem is, I'm not approaching it in a fashion that would garner it more legitimacy. In other words, I'm not doing the work I'm doing in the employ of a university research department. So, you know, and so as a consequence, I don't treat it like that. You know, I don't keep track of a bunch of data and, you know, you read One Single Mom? Compress all of existence into one single mom? That would be probably a little easier than one single meme. And the whole idea of a meme is a single concept that stands out as a distinct identity. So it's almost definitionally impossible to conceive of getting everything in on a meme. Well, thank you, Email FX. I appreciate you saying that. I think it's correct. As to whether it's important or not, I mean, I think that cognitive functions provide me at least, and Rachel at least, a great deal of lexicographical tool effectiveness. You know, like, I can understand the world a lot more clearly, and I can explain the world a lot more clearly with cognitive functions, and a lot more with running afoul of fewer stumble overs with cognitive functions than any other approach, pretty much. And it's like, why won't somebody debate me on the legitimacy of cognitive functions? You know, it's like the only people who want to debate the topic at all are people who already agree with typology, but they just don't agree on the specifics of it, right? But what you don't see is anybody out there powerfully advocating that, in fact, these other personality models are better, because they don't want to debate it, really. You know, it's like the problem they have with debating that is there are some tried and true sentences that psychologists or university type psychiatrists, whatever, will say, which are basically, well, this has years of empirical data. It's been supported by lots of studies. There's no studies that really support this. It's considered to be reductive because these letter dichotomies aren't how people really are, blah, 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 right? So the thing is, course, that's not even addressing cognitive functions. Everybody who argues against cognitive functions is arguing against MBTI. I've never even heard anybody successfully argue, or not even unsuccessfully. I've never even heard anybody unsuccessfully argue that cognitive function model is wrong. Yeah, they would get picked apart because the problem that they have is, does psychology differentiate in any other capacity between the ways in which people pay attention? And if not, isn't that kind of critical to understanding human psychology? I assume that there are various understandings of attention in psychology, but that they probably make it totalizing, like paying attention to something for a certain length of time. I can pay attention to boring process X for 15 minutes without losing my focus. They think of attention. Psychology typically talks about attention like that, right? That it's a singular thing. That in fact there aren't multiple different channels of attention. It just doesn't seem to be. It doesn't seem to be acknowledged really as a critically important question, at least even. My birthday is 4/27/71. That's April 27th, 1971. Yeah, I have. Modafinil. That's that stuff that they use for sleep shift disorder, right? Yeah, it's like it makes you get shit done, but it makes you grumpy too.
What?
Modafinil.
Oh.
It's like speed without any speed in it. Have I ever tried Redifin? No. There is not a polar test for FE or FI. It would appear that the remote associations test is a strong candidate for an NI polar test. Abraham was completely unable to do any of them, even the very easiest ones on that. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for when you're trying to find a polar test. So it's kind of a big deal that I did that with Abraham yesterday and got a little bit of data on that, because it's not enough to generalize a conclusion from, really. It's too small of a sample pool, but it's difficult to get people to let you prove how bad they are at something, even if it's for science, so to speak. Like, it would have been very nice of Abraham to really try his hardest and to unveil completely the full scope of his weakness in that area, but nobody likes to do that,
No.
You volunteer. Okay, well, SI is not as. SI doesn't seem to be like the problem with that remote associations test is it's got kind of IQ test-ish vibe about it a little bit. Not that it's anything like an IQ test, but it just has that kind of test to see if you're smart kind of thing feel for it. So that makes it more socially challenging for somebody to fail at that than to fail at remembering details from the last couple of days, for example. Winston's mom. Good afternoon. What did I miss besides all existence in one single meme? I mean, isn't that enough? Isn't that enough to miss? Hi, Lorna and Nicole. The Scots are back.
We have some Highlanders here.
Get out the Lysol. The Scots are back. I'd like to see an FE test. You marked me off on your Scottish microaggression bingo cards yesterday, everybody. So you don't even need to check. Does Adderall affect polar SI? I took it a couple times and it made it difficult to urinate. Oh yeah, it does make it difficult to urinate. It does. That's true. I mean, the thing about FE tests, okay, I agree that it would be a good idea to have a really clear FE test if we could think of one. The problem with interface functions and testing them directly is they require a dynamic system for somebody to interface with. So it's like, if I'm talking to somebody or chatting to somebody as I'm typing them, I'll usually be able to tell if they're FE or not. It's like FE people will typically say things like, "I hope you didn't think I meant yeah," and other equivalents. FI people not so much. What do I think about looting and rioting? You just end the sentence right there. I think it's terrible. Obviously, there's no justification for violence and lawlessness and vandalism and so forth.
Exactly. My same sentiments.
And I mean, I'm as much a advocate of police reform as anybody, but that's because I want more of a safe, orderly, and just society, not because I want less of it. Do you think FE people are more likely to immediately describe all of their relationships upon meeting you? I mean, I've never done anything like that, I don't think. Well, I mean, look. I mean, I think those kind of questions are fundamentally bad. I think individuals are treated as they are treated by their community and their peers and their family and so forth. And some of those individuals are treated well by their communities and everything, and some of them are not. Would you like to sit down next to me?
Yeah.
Sure. I don't find it at all meaningful or productive to say, oh, black people are more discriminated against, or white people are discriminated against now, or anything like that, because that's just playing into the bullshit. As somebody who's transracial, I can tell you it doesn't matter what my race is on any given day, which it changes frequently. I'm always treated the same. Same with my gender. I go from sort of womanly to extremely manly and back again.
Yes, it's true.
But I always get treated the same. So that disproves any notion of concern about the. See, the problem is, of course, this: if there's looting and shit, what's the problem? Well, the problem is there's looting.
Yes, thank you.
What's to blame for the looting? The looters.
Mm-hmm.
And why are they to blame? Because they're violating people's rights. And why is that not okay? Because that's the very definition of an injustice. To destroy someone else's property, to make a big mess all over the place and steal stuff. And it's the very definition of lawlessness. And obviously it's not acceptable. So the most important thing to do is this. Like, let's say you have a position that, white people are now being discriminated against or something. Well, that's not a position. That's just you being dumb. A possible position would be this. Meow person, Joe Bob Joe, had his rights violated by Sam Bob Sam. Okay? And then who's to blame? Sam Bob Sam. And who's the victim? Joe Bob Joe. And what other things are relevant? None. Those things aren't relevant. They are looking at it from the wrong direction, obviously. If you want to actually care about justice, then you don't care about things like, if you care about justice, then it doesn't matter if I beat my wife because I was drunk and in a bad mood or because she mouthed off, right? It's like, hey, listen, officer, you got to understand. She was really mouthing off to me. So I didn't really have a lot of choice. I had to smack her around, Or, Oh, look, officer, I was drunk and in a bad mood, so I hit her and smacked her around. Or women just need periodically a stroke of violence to keep them, keep them a pep in their step or something.
Yeah.
I could give them any number of possible reasons. If you are focused on my reasons, then you have been bamboozled, right? You've been bamboozled by the victimizer. So if you are focused on somebody's color or race, then you've been bamboozled by somebody. You've been bamboozled. You've bought the snake oil and you're drinking it. You're chugging it down, but it's got radium in it. So it's probably ill-advised.
Do you see my face? I'm very concerned for all of you. Hey, Winston's mom. I feel like it's been a bit. It's good to see you.
Is there a type that lives in a bubble? People with no immune systems.
Excuse me.
That's not good enough, Winston's mom. It should be mandatory.
Ew, that's disgusting.
I joke, I kid. I don't actually think it should be mandatory. Optional's fine. Well, because I don't believe in conferring my pretend statuses onto other people. I tell you who's not dressed modestly enough, my cock. When I don't have any clothes on, it's just hanging out there completely nude.
Mm-hmm. It's not modest.
I stole the cement truck and crashed it into the unicycle factory because I didn't know any better. Can I go now?
That's funny, Winston's mom. I was talking to Cameron about weed, and he's like, you know how like so Cameron was like, you know how some people like store stashes of like candy places so that you have like extra when you run out. I'm like, yeah, I'm that grandma. I'm that grandma with weed. Like, I like to do that. I like to like hide it in like little places. Like, if I was a grandma, I would totally hide candy for sure. Have a little extra. Like, I don't know. That's me.
Do I have an opinion on BLM? Yeah, it's a wicked appropriation of a just issue on making it an unjust issue. So the just issue is police reform. That's an actual issue that needs to be dealt with. By co-opting it with some racial bullshit, everyone who does that is just wicked. What did you think of your production style for the video? I thought it was good.
Yeah.
You know, I've you edited it nicely. It's not too long. You know, you have different things in. I know Jesus is Lord and Mike Jones are both Cloud. So, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Did you hear the thing did you hear the thing I put up? Outer Self? It's called
No.
Cut. Psst. Oh, did I not put it in the folder? Oh no, I did put it in the folder. Cut. Psst. Rough books mixed for share with Utter. Why is it not playing? Oh, there it goes. Oops. I just didn't wait long enough. I was too impatient. Foolish error. I once was asked long ago in childhood, they wanted to know the task that I wanted when I would grow up. Want to be a dentist? Again, I was asked not long ago. Are you ever maybe gonna grow up now, Eric? Do the adult thing and show up now, Eric. Show up for what? Show up for why? Show up to where? I'm feeling high. There's a rough vocal take, obviously. Oh, you're talking about my jaw? that it probably won't let me succeed because failure is almost guaranteed. You see, I'd like to be a rapping man, standing on the stage, rapping at fans. They are dancing, stamping, clapping their hands, and proclaiming their devotion to the rapping man. I'd like to be a rapping man, standing on the stage, rapping at fans. They are dancing, stamping, clapping their hands, and proclaiming their devotion to the rapping man. I'd like to be a rapping man, standing on the stage, rapping at fans. They are dancing, stamping, clapping their hands, and proclaiming their devotion to the rapping man. I'd like to be a rapping man, standing on the stage, rapping at fans. They are dancing, stamping, clapping their hands, and proclaiming their devotion to the rapping man. I'd like to be a rapping man, standing on the stage, rapping at fans. They are dancing, stamping, clapping their hands, and proclaiming their devotion to the rapping man. I'd like to be a rapping man, standing on the stage, rapping at fans. They are dancing, stamping, clapping their hands, and proclaiming their devotion. So, you know, it's very rough mix, rough vocals. I need to redo most of the vocals, but I like the beat a lot. I like the way it all goes together with no vocals. It sounds really good. Your yourself did a great job with the beat.
Yeah.
And, it's coming together.
It really is.
The race concept is very relevant in today's course. You can't simply just abstain from talking. I don't abstain from talking about it. I dismantle it and prove it to be disgusting, wicked nonsense every time it comes up. I don't avoid it. I don't avoid the topic. I don't abstain from it. I kick the shit out of it.
It is cool, question mark. I noticed that I went to 2 yesterday.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Things picked up in the last few months, you know. I was stuck at 6,000 for a long time, but then I started going up again. Would you like one of these chocolates?
I would actually. Thank you.
You should produce your next video soon. The point is, there is an actual movement that should be defined by what actually needs to be addressed, which is police reform.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like police only shoot black people; they shoot all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
I was bitching about it for years before it was in the public consciousness.
We were talking about. I did in the car with Delilah, and she agreed that your one was against that stuff from the beginning, or even before it was a thing.
You know, Anthrax, don't be too much of an INFJ. Here's a little ENTP secret for you. Who fucking cares? Just upload it.
That's what I did.
Seriously, who fucking cares?
That's what I did when I first had my channel. I would just do whatever idea I had in my head, and then I would upload it because just do it. Because you gotta. Just do it.
Well, my stance on Second Amendment is that the right to bear arms is obviously not an absolute right. In the sense that there's a general consensus that we shouldn't let individual citizens have, say, bombers planes with bombs in them, right? And that they shouldn't be able to have nuclear weapons. They shouldn't be able to have Sidewinder missiles and stuff like that, and or fully automatic machine guns or whatever. The thing is, here's the deal with the Second Amendment. There are already so many gun laws on the books, and none of those gun laws prevent periodic instances of gun violence. There will be gun violence in any free society. And in a free society, people do have the right to possess the means to injure other people. We possess many means to injure other people. It doesn't require a gun, right? So the thing is, yes, there's going to be.
I didn't even do what I wanted to do.
There's going to be. There will be firearms present in a free society, but the thing is,
do you think that people should be fully licensed and fully trained to have one?
No.
No.
And the reason I don't think that is because I don't find that we have a lot of examples of government licensing in that fashion that actually
Well,
it's actually good. Like for
I
example,
don't-
look what happened with cars. Now, originally everybody drove their car, probably didn't have to have any driver's license, just drove the car around, you know. And then they some people were bad at driving and getting crashes a lot, and so at some point they decided they need to license this. It's
All
too
right.
dangerous.
I
Don't
don't-
let anybody.
I don't
do
care
it.
about the licensing. Okay, whatever. Fuck it. You know, we can't control that. But the thing is that you really should be trained. You should. If you own an arm, you should know how to use it because you're gonna fucking shoot your own foot off. And I'm just saying.
I mean,
I'm just saying. Really.
I'm not disputing the fact that people who own guns should know how to use
Yeah,
them.
they really should. And if you don't, you're a fucking asshole.
But the question is that the thing about gun laws and gun ownership in general is it's a matter of how we want to legislate it.
You
So-
don't do anything with the Second Amendment. You just tell the states that they should. If an owner has a gun, they need to be trained. I'm sorry, but I would not sell to someone who doesn't know how to use a gun. That's really fucking stupid.
Okay. Well, I mean,
See, we disagree a lot, like when it comes to politics.
you haven't. I haven't even said anything yet. What do you disagree with?
I don't know. We are disagreeing on this, aren't we?
I mean,
Because I
haven't made any points
I do
yet.
think that people should be. You should be registered. Like you should know how to. If you own a gun, you should be trained. I don't care who the fuck you are, but it's like if you don't know how to. It's a weapon. If you don't know how to use a weapon, then lawnmower, you could shove it up your fucking asshole. Lawnmower, you are a fucking dickhole. You come in here and you like always rag on me, and you know why? Because you're an ESTJ and you have no fucking creativity. You always try to tell me how I should act and how I should be. And not only are you telling me, but now you're telling people in the community too. I saw the Running Fox stuff. All right, so fuck you. Fuck what you have to say. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. So lawnmower, you could stick it up your ass.
All right. So to address the question that was asked about the Second Amendment by Evelyn, I'd say we need to remember a couple of things. First of all, there are over 300 million guns in America, and some of them are involved in acts of violence, crimes, accidents, etc. So the first thing I would want to know, if we were going to try to make more legislation, would be what kind of people are involved in these bad activities with guns. So is it hunting accidents? Is it people who have unregistered weapons entirely who bought it on the black market? Is it people who bought it legally? But
Fuck you, Diamond. Fuck you. Oof your ass. I'm not in a nice mood today. I'm not. So, just so you guys know, it happens.
So yeah, it's what I think is interesting about gun legislation and the Second Amendment is that there doesn't really seem to be much of an interest or an effort to determine what actually links to what,
What was your oof exactly entitled? Like, what were you oofing? The fact that like gun laws are a mess, or that Eric and I have or what I was saying? I don't understand what your oof is coming from, so that's why I take offense to it. I don't, that's just my opinion. I don't know. I feel people should be trained if they have a weapon. If you're not trained and you kill someone, I mean, you're gonna get hit hard by the law. That's just the truth. I'm sorry. I just feel that way. So like, you know.
It is, of course, also kind of intuitive for somebody who's TE polar to presume that training is how one attains skills or learning or something. So, does anyone know who regulates the militia mentioned in the Second Amendment? Well, it would be the state governments, probably, I would guess. Since I don't believe there were any federal militias at the time. So it would have to be like the Virginia State Militia would be regulated by the state of Virginia. But the thing is, for European types who are all like, the right to bear arms is only for militia purposes and yada yada. It's kind of disingenuous. Look, I'm not saying that there's no validity whatsoever in driver's license. Where I was going with the driver's license point, but I never quite got there, is watch what happens when the government has the capacity to license and register things. In California, I pay $300 every year for registration fees and some money for a driver's license. And what do I get for my $300? I get a sticker for the back of my car. It becomes just another way to squeeze people. So I worry a little bit about affording a fundamentally non-accountable body, that is to say a government body, which doesn't have to be profitable, doesn't have to be useful, doesn't have to get good customer feedback, doesn't have to justify its budget by doing anything other than using its budget. That's obviously not the kind of vermin you want running around your house. Sure, maybe one mole in your yard isn't going to kill you, but if you just let things run amok, all of a sudden you've got a yard full of holes. So the thing is this. It's important to remember we are no longer in the time of muskets and horses. There is no way in hell that the armed populace is going to be a meaningful check on tyranny. Okay? So this is one common argument that's bullshit. That gun ownership is a check on tyranny. It's not a check on tyranny. Rachel's outside right now. So, if you had Cub Kiosk, you could have a gun. You could own a gun. And that's fine. You don't have to be in a militia. Look, the fact is the Supreme Court has ruled the Second Amendment affords the individual an individual right to own a handgun or a rifle. Okay, well, I mean, put it this way. The reason it's not a check on tyranny is because by the time you get to where it's time to have firearms be a check on tyranny, it's already too late. It's like using guns means shooting people, right? And so it either there's enough law and order that behavior of yours will not be tolerated, or there's so much chaos that it's too late. Shit's gone to hell in a handbasket. What gun ownership is, in part, is an acknowledgement that we can't control everybody and we can't control everything. It's like people are so worried about gun violence, or they were, right? Now we're not worried about gun violence anymore. We're worried about COVID. We used to be worried about terrorism, and people couldn't wear masks into stores because they might be terrorists and they might blow people up. Well, now we're not worried about terrorism. We're worried about COVID. The thing is this. When you're talking about somebody trying to cause a lot of death, there's something pretty obvious that kind of makes you realize that it's silly to be so fussy about guns. Anybody can go to the gas station, get 100 gallons of gasoline, and it's like that's just as much destructive power in there as a gun. You get the sense that if cavemen hadn't discovered fire, if we discovered it now, right? If we discovered fire in 2020, that there is no way in hell I would be allowed to possess a lighter, right? Right? 300 million guns, okay, in the United States. 299 million of them never have a problem. I mean, I don't necessarily think gun legislation has to be useless. I do think that we should have limits. So, for example, I don't believe that people should be able to own and carry around in the street for their self-defense rocket-propelled grenade launchers. Why? Call me crazy. I don't know. I just don't think we all need to be walking around with sophisticated weapons of war. Is it possible to run a country without the public over-focusing, panicking about one thing? Yeah, if I were running it, we'd be doing that just right now. It's like I heard somebody call Trump morally reprehensible for comparing COVID to the flu. Excuse me? I mean, talk about morally reprehensible. To quote me, how do I know what you need? Well, I agree with that in general, but sophisticated weapons of war are a class of object that, it's a fair enough point, And the thing is, there are ways you could legitimately have some of that stuff. Elon Musk sold flamethrowers, right? And a lot of people would probably say, "Oh, this is terrible. People can't have flamethrowers." Have there been any problems with these flamethrowers? Has anybody gone and flamethrowed people or whatever? I don't think so. There's big fuss about the 3D printer handgun blueprint. Have there been problems with these 3D handguns, 3D printer guns? Have they been used in lots of crimes? Or, it's like, why are we freaking out about this thing and that thing and the other thing and yeah, the single biggest threat to society by far is the hysterical alarmism underlying our COVID policies. I mean, that's serious, right? It's like that's actually a serious thing. Nobody's talking about that at all. What is the biggest problem that the world has right now? It is stupidity about COVID. It is a willingness to throw all reason, justice, logic, reciprocal burdens, and everything else out the window. I mean, you know, the society in general is growing up slowly. I think that there's incredibly reduced energy on the anti-drug side of things. You know, Ethan McDonald. No, that's silly. Citizens should not look. Nobody's ever allowed to take up arms against anybody. Right? They either do it because they have the legal authority and know they can get away with it, or they do it without the legal authority. Can I take up arms against you? You don't get permission to take up arms. Is it possible that a dog can be possessed? Possessed by an insatiable rage of the mailman? Would I deregulate some of the gun laws? Well, it's not within my power to rescind legislation as president. Here's the other thing, though. While you are going to hear, plenty of stories about gun violence, you're not going to hear the stories about somebody's going through all kinds of bullshit because they got on the wrong government list and blah, 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 you know? And those things matter too. Lauren Nicole says, I'm a virologist. COVID is bad. Okay, well, I mean, it's not good. But our COVID policies are much more substantially problematic than COVID itself. For example, we've now set the precedent. Well, Lorna, think about it. This is what's way, way worse about COVID. We've now set the precedent that it's okay for the group to force individuals to wear masks, even if those individuals aren't sick and have no reason to believe they're sick. So it makes sense that sometimes we could quarantine sick people, but we've expanded our thinking now that it's okay if I can establish that somebody might die if you do a given behavior, then you can't do it. So nobody should be able to drive because it correlates with some deaths. The thing is, nobody's even proved that the various protocols that we've been asked to adhere to have had any positive effect at all. In fact, it appears as though California had COVID run through it in February before any of the shutdown happened. Everybody's so concerned about the infection rate and how many people get affected by it, and nobody's caring much about the fatality rate, which just keeps plummeting lower and lower and lower. The more data we gather, the more we see the truth of the thing, which is exactly what I said it would be way back in the beginning. Does it hurt my pride as a virulent man? Pardon the pun. No, the thing is this. Normally, we understand that if somebody is obviously sick, mucousy, blah, 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 it's reasonable for other parties around them to say, hey, you know, you really shouldn't come to work today. You're going to get us all sick, right? Everybody gets that. No problem. But think about what we've done now. I don't know you don't have COVID, so you have to wear a mask. I have no reason to think you do, but I don't know you don't. Okay. You also don't know that I won't go on a killing spree. So maybe I shouldn't be allowed to leave my house. The thing is, people forget that there are two vectors to consider. Sanctity of life is important, and so is quality of life. We understand that we have to allow the individuals to make choices for themselves. So if you want to have extra precautions, you can get yourself a full-on HEPA mask, that just, it's got like, you're guaranteed not to get it. If I'm not sick at all, have no reason to believe I'm sick, have no symptoms, then I should get to decide whether I want to take the chance of getting the virus or not, whether I want to wear a mask or not. I'm not saying that we cannot quarantine obviously sick people, but basically what's happened is what Ethan McDonald says, I hope jokingly, the government should place everyone under house arrest to prevent the spread of COVID. That's what's happened, essentially. It happened and yeah, it's a little bit easier when you're an EHP. A/SC. I'm an action type, so I do still miss exits. Like I'll get caught up in thinking in my head and drive right past my exit. No. Mood. Listen, I can't spread COVID if I don't have it. Okay? Now, it's true if I have it but have no symptoms, it could be spread. That's true. But it's also true that even though I've never shown any violent tendencies before, I could snap tomorrow and go on a killing spree. That's not a good enough reason to lock me in my house. I know I could have it without symptoms, but if you have no reason to believe I do have it without symptoms, and I have no reason to believe I do have it without symptoms, in other words, we both have a reason to believe just that there's no reason to believe I have it, then we have to assume I don't have it, or at least afford me the still legitimate opportunity to function as though I don't have it, right? I mean, the thing is this. The thing to remember is this. It's so crazy how people don't think, because I said, okay, well, if in fact what we learned at the beginning was this was particularly dangerous for old people, almost only old people, and that younger people were kind of fine, then why don't we just quarantine the old people, make them stay in the house all the time? And somebody responded to me by saying, we couldn't make all the old people stay home all the time. So we made everybody stay home all the time. What? The fact is, the number of so-called deaths that have been attributed to COVID is greatly exaggerated. A very small fraction of those deaths were exclusively due to COVID. COVID was probably the tipping point of pre-existing conditions for almost all of those deaths. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them. We know right off the bat that we were lied to and that we were sold a false bill of goods. I articulated exactly how and why that was the case at the time and was proved correct in my predictions. We need to operate according to a limiting principle. And that limiting principle is the autonomy of an individual should not be interfered with without a good reason. I don't know for sure that you don't have a disease is not a good reason. It used to be, right, we were trying to flatten the curve, right? Just flatten the curve. Well, it's been flattened, right? So why did we not rescind all that bullshit? I'm pretty free. Am I old? I'm 49. But the thing is, yes, some people will get COVID and die. That's going to happen, period. Now, if indeed all the things they were saying about COVID are true, that the long incubation period and the total lack of immunity to it, the instant infectability of everybody, etc., is true, then there's an obvious conclusion to draw. Oh, I guess we can't effectively quarantine this then. And that's exactly what happened. If all of our COVID policies were so effective, why is the United States reporting that we've had 300,000 dead or something like that? Why didn't they live? If in fact COVID was the real cause of all those deaths, why do none of us see anything like that? You know, it's like, I don't know anybody who knows anybody who's even, you know, I know somebody through the channel. I know one person through the channel who knows one person who was sick enough to possibly be hospitalized from COVID, but it was an aging grandfather who already had pneumonia or something like that. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of investment in this bullshit narrative. As Trump said, 2 million would be dead if I didn't shut down travel for China. See, this is the kind of thing. This is why Trump's such a disaster. I mean, the thing to remember is this: what really launched everybody into a panic, remember, was Italy. Okay, because it was so unprecedented. All these deaths from this disease in Italy. Okay. Remember the beginning? If you actually look at the data, this COVID season, total deaths in Italy is lower for that flu season than the flu season 5 years ago, which outkilled COVID in Italy, where it killed the worst in the world. It only had to go back 5 years to find more deaths in a comparable flu season. Is it morally reprehensible to compare COVID to the flu? Absolutely not. In fact, COVID is less deadly than the flu. But the thing is, it's about being realistic. You know, our COVID policy is this. We got 2 mothers, 1 baby. Okay? So King Solomon said, hey, you know, we can't quarantine effectively if all these things are true. It won't work. We'd have to quarantine forever. And this party said, we can't let people die. And so somebody said, but look, you don't want to cut this baby in half. It still won't work. People will still die. And you'll cause all these ancillary harms that'll vastly outweigh even the maximal harms of COVID. And instead of hearing me be smart, people said, yeah, let's cut the baby in half. What? So if I say, why does this make any sense that I can't go into here when I can go into place B and do the same thing? And I'm not within. Why is this store forced to be closed when this store is extra crowded now with people who have masks on and are sort of pretending to try to stay 6 feet away from each other? Why is that good? And then what do people say? Oh, well, we should shut down store B too. They don't think. They don't go, oh, yeah, this is stupid. Trump's an ESFP for sure. He's TI polar. Anybody who thinks that we should have any of this COVID nonsense is a half the baby person. They say, let's cut the baby in half. It's like antibiotics. There's this tribe of people in the Amazon or something that some anthropologists went to visit them or something, and they had some sickness go through this tribe, and one of the people in the tribe was very sick, and the anthropologist wanted to give that individual guy antibiotics to make him better, but he refused to do it. Everything had to be shared evenly. So all the tribe people took 1 antibiotic pill, which helped none of them. Right? Because it's ignoring the reality of antibiotics. You need to take it regularly for a couple of days for it to work properly. If you don't take it like that, then it's not going to do any good. That's the COVID thing. So we knew ahead of time, if we were using our brains instead of our stupid parts, then if we had thought, we would have known ahead of time. This is like that antibiotics thing. Whatever actions we take are just theater. It's not going to work because of all the various reasons why COVID's unstoppable is a thing that they kept saying, why it's such a big deal, right? Well, those very same things, the long incubation period, the lack of symptoms, makes it functionally unquarantinable. So be smart then. Don't do it, you know? Fear is a powerful thing, but there was nothing to be afraid of in this instance. You could see right off the bat, there was nothing to be afraid of. All you had to do was a little bit of thinking. I could see it instantly. It didn't require a lot of intuition. It didn't require a lot of intelligence. It just required a little straightforward observation to see that this is insane and stupid and the worst thing that's ever happened. So, you know, it's like the only good thing that came out of COVID is me being so right on every single point I made from the beginning till now. That's great. I love that because next time some stupid shit comes up, I will reference this. Let me guess, you were also in favor of being stupid about COVID, right? I'm just guessing. You seem like the type. Well, let's tear you to pieces now and explain why you no longer get to make decisions. Whoever you are who's in favor of this stupidity. All you need is a little thinking is your answer to everything. Well, Sam Smith, I would have done the thing that the government should do. Provide correct information to all of the individual parties in the country so that they can make their own decisions about how much precaution or whatever they want to take. If I own a small business and I want to make a rule that says masks are required to come into my business, that's my prerogative because it's my small business. If I want to have a small business that doesn't require masks, that's my prerogative. If you are a COVID terrified person, then you go to the places that do require masks and don't go to the places that don't. Everybody can take whatever measures they want to protect themselves. And if you want to force people to do shit, fine. Force people who are displaying symptoms to be quarantined. Fine. Or have a positive test or something. Fine. But when you are forcing everybody, including the healthy people who don't have COVID, never had COVID, and never will have COVID, to act as though they do, well, then that's where you are setting a precedent that is more evil than any harm COVID could ever possibly do. You're saying you must prove a negative in order to have basic autonomy. And that's bullshit. Well, Sam Smith, you know, a lot of people need to go to the hospital for doing stupid shit. So, I mean, do you think we should lock up all alcoholics because they do stupid shit when they get drunk and they're mean to their family and stuff? And they end up going to the hospital for liver disease? So should we lock up all people, make sure they don't drink any alcohol? What happens when the fitness freak pushes too hard and breaks their leg? Should we ban fitness now? What happens when the small business owner doesn't put in the security glass and they get robbed one night and some of the customers get shot? Well, then we should have forced them ahead of time to put security glass in, because we get to decide for everybody what's best for them, right? Detectors in the park, exactly. everybody should listen to that song. Okay. Ethan, I hope you're joking. Suggesting martial law because a cold's going around makes you. I can't even continue to speak without just verbally assaulting you. There's the other thing that people don't remember is there's something called opportunity cost. This bullshit approach to COVID that hasn't worked and was guaranteed not to, as I said in the very beginning, and I've been right about all the time, right? The cost us is trillions and trillions of dollars. So is this the best impacts we could attain for the cost of trillions and trillions of dollars? Or could we maybe accomplish something substantially better than what we've accomplished here, which is nothing? Right. This is the thing, is the COVID people, they only count harms they want to count. They only think that, and they love to frame it like this. You think that business is more important than lives. No. I think that sanity is preferable to mass hysteria. Sweden had minimal restrictions and their economy and people are doing just fine. Same with Taiwan, which is right next to China. Totally voluntary. It's just that simple. I've never heard any good arguments to counter anything that I'm saying here. I've never heard any arguments at all. People don't even respond to it. They've never responded from the very beginning. At the very beginning, I pointed out the problem with the data gathering protocols, and everybody heard me and just moved on to the next point, as though somehow that glaring elephant in the middle of the room was not determinate, which of course it was. And that you could just ignore that and continue thinking whatever you think, and that's okay. Well, no, that's not okay. You can't advocate shit by appealing to what you don't know. You know, all the COVID people, everybody. And I don't mean everybody in the world. I mean the COVID people. Like, the thing is this. Remember, the other thing that's happened is we've divided the population into necessary people and unnecessary people. Remember, you can take someone's life away from them without killing them. And that's what's not been understood. The pro-COVID bullshit people are really saying, let's take millions of people's lives away from them so that we can preserve the life of a vulnerable population. They don't phrase it as that. They say it's business versus lives. But no, you know, it's like, let's say I built a career. Let's say I was still doing autonomy debate, right? And I had built up this business and I was in the middle of doing my shit. And all of a sudden, my business is no longer necessary. My life is taken away. My livelihood, my identity. It's an entirely more substantial matter than the quarantine people give any credence to. You know, it's like if a pro-quarantine person were to go to the guy's house and say, okay, look, I know you put together your debate school and this is how you're supporting your family and this is your livelihood and stuff. And this is your identity. And this is the culmination of decades of hard work. But you don't get to have any of that anymore because it's not necessary. We decide what's necessary. McDonald's is doing fine because they have a drive-through. but you're not necessary and your life isn't necessary.
I'm sorry I got all huff and puff.
That's okay. You know, it's they're saying because we don't know and because shit might happen, if we let you live your life, you can't live your life. %90 of survivors are having neurological problems from COVID. Even if that's the case, Gen Xio, my point still stands. We knew from the get-go that the quarantine wouldn't work. We knew from the get-go that no matter what we did, that given all the things they were telling us about it, how it was so incredibly contagious, how everybody had no immunity to it, how it had a long incubation period with no symptoms, and all that time was contagious and stuff. We knew based on all those facts we were told, if we had chosen to think that quarantining wasn't going to work, that was a stupid idea. That was cutting the baby in half. That you can't do that. You can't. This is a disease that doesn't quarantine well, right? It's going to spread anyway. And because so many people have no symptoms at all, it means that it's going to be impossible to meaningfully even know if you're quarantining it. So if vaccine was available, how would that affect the situation in the U.S.? I mean,
I'll be there, Pete.
here's the thing. I'm pretty sure there's not actually going to be a vaccine. I know they keep saying there's going to be. Here's why I think there's not going to be. Unfortunately, it's a coronavirus. And just like the common cold, the reason they can't have a vaccine for the common cold is because your antibodies only make you immune to it for a short period of time afterwards. And then they kind of like wear out or something. So it's like when I'm immune to chickenpox, that means my antibodies stay immune to it for the rest of my life. Now, they might not at some point during late in my life, and then I might get something called shingles, which is when you get chickenpox a second time. But for most people, getting chickenpox, I had it as a kid, and I had it pretty bad. If you get it pretty bad, then you're not going to ever get it again. Okay, that's genuine immunity. That's the principle upon which vaccines are based, is that you introduce the virus into the system, your body produces antibodies specific to that virus, and then next time the virus comes in, your body knows how to deal with it. The problem is, coronavirus specifically, the common cold, is a disease that is that you don't stay immune to. Okay, so you don't stay immune to it. If I may have had it already, and then I might be able to get it again. And because that's the case, if I were given a vaccine, there'd have to be something uniquely distinct about it that would allow that same problem to not happen to it. You know what I'm saying? There are those that COVID is straight up lethal to. Well, that's true. So what's the point? The problem is people say things like that, but they seem to think that that's an argument in favor of meow, meow, meow. You know, we need to look at comparables, and we do have some comparables. The interesting thing is the comparables are like a regular flu season. They're not like the Spanish flu, which gets compared to a lot. This is nothing at all like the Spanish flu. Yeah, okay. Nicholas Watson, that's the exception. If you don't quite get it all the way the first time, then you could get it a second time. I got it bad the first time, so I was fine. I find it really odd that the general mainstream media narrative is still so uniform and, you know, lockstep on the side of complete bullshit. You know, it's weird. But they're just invested. This is what people do. This is what non-FI polar people do for sure. Is they tend to double down when they're wrong. They don't fix it and get rid of their wrongness like a sensible person would. They double down. And that's what all these media personalities are doing. We're already sold and so committed to this stupidity that I can't, you know, sunk costs. What's wrong with quarantine? Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with quarantining in general as a concept. Obviously, you have to quarantine. You have to decide whether it makes sense to quarantine, and if it does, in which context and with what limits, and when it doesn't make sense to quarantine. So if you have a disease where the vast majority of people show no symptoms at all, it's got a 14-day incubation period, and it's got no immunity worldwide, and it's supposedly, easily passed through the air or whatever. Well, then we know already, okay, that's not going to work. We're not going to be able to quarantine that one because the incubation period is too long. There's too many people with no symptoms. Fortunately, we don't need to quarantine it because you got a 0.4 or lower % fatality rate, lower than most flus for sure, and dropping as we gather more data. So, I mean, either McDonald or EHPs and ESPs must, I don't know. I've seen plenty of people who are all different types being incredibly wrong about all sorts of shit. I'll tell you this. I'm about as right as they get about most things. I never get a flu vaccine. No, not from hindsight. With foresight, Sam Smith. I said right at the beginning, COVID didn't warrant it. I pointed out the data gathering methodology problems, how the actual percentage of fatality rate was going to be at least 10 times lower than what was being reported, that it wouldn't work as a quarantine because of all the specific qualities of it that I've already named. I said that at the beginning. Right at the very because I thought about it. I didn't just go with what was thrown at my face. I actually thought about it myself. That's why. I'm like, this doesn't sound right. I'm a debate coach. I'm used to figuring out whether people are talking bullshit or not. I could see right through it. It stunk so badly of bullshit. And no, I am not saying it's a conspiracy or a hoax, okay? This is a genuine, bona fide instance of mass hysteria and being invested in your own wrongness, doubling down. I mean, Jesus is Lord. Of the two of us, the one that could accurately be called a sophist in our conversation today is you, not me. Well, this is the thing, Sam Smith. I did some research, and what I determined is there was no way to affirm that affirmation. Basically, you couldn't win that app. The resolution skewed too hard and egg because they didn't have any facts to back that shit up. It was all a bunch of appeals to ignorance, faulty alarmism. They played a bunch of prevent defense against fake news, like right-wing Alex Jones shit, right? Okay, so look, this is the thing, Joe Wisdom, is here's why this clusterfuck of nonsense happened. The mainstream media felt as though in a previous sort of news cycle that they had lost their grip on what comprises an objective narrative that's legitimate and what comprises crazy talk, right? They felt like they had lost their grip on that thing. Well, at the beginning of this thing, they decided to basically play prevent defense. For example, they got YouTube to shut down these doctors who said, this is bullshit. Shut down that video. And the reason was because at the time, everybody said, I recognize this. This is one of those crazy things that those crazy right-wingers are going to oppose. The anti-vaxxers and the and so we're gonna really play defense here and try to frame this narrative. So I looked at it optimistically and happened to be right. No, Sam Smith, I did research for fuck's sake. Second of all, remember, people are advocating that we do this stupid shit. All I need to do is point out they fail to make their advocacy. They fail to affirm this by supporting it with anything other than bullshit, such as appeals to ignorance. Well, since we don't know, we should err on the side of caution. No, what you don't know doesn't justify any action. I said that right at the beginning. So it's not I looked at it optimistically. I saw this stinking pile of toxic misargumentational deformation in front of me, rancid and seeping into the ground, killing everything around it. And I said, oh my God, who believes this bullshit? That's what happened, Sam Smith. I actually thought and looked at stuff. I didn't just go with the whoa, Kevin. Yeah, it's like the Salem witch. Like every single law in California has gone out the window in favor of COVID. We used to have these stupid laws where you don't get straws to drive through. Not since COVID. Now everybody gets straws again. Did they change that law? Did they? I mean, I don't. It's just. It's like, well, nothing counts anymore now. It's COVID. So
yeah, I know. That's what they're saying. Like, it's so funny. They say that even about fashion, that people are now like.
I finally made a good point, Sam Smith. I've been making nothing but good points the whole time.
I had no idea this chat was gonna go like this.
Richie, it often does. You get a little contentious around here.
True.
I'm gonna grab one of those bucklers. Do you need another one?
Cool. I think so. I've been drinking them like water.
That's fine, dude.
They're so good. Sorry, everyone, for before. I get like, there's like, I have a scale, and it's called 1 to 10, and it hardly goes anywhere in between. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm getting this thing to open it for you.
I really do love being care about you. I don't need to get huff and puff and burn the house down.
Well, you know, I get mad sometimes too.
Yeah, that's true. Now you just chill.
Ridiculous.
Oh my God, this is so nice. I just had some cheese too. Would you like some slices? It's out. I mean, it's warm cheese.
Yeah, this cheese is right here
Cool.
somewhere.
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I forgot about the cheese.
Yeah. It's really nice and soft and good.
Be uncrustable too.
Yep.
But with this beer, cheese is definitely the
Oh
same.
my God, right?
Isn't this nice, guys?
This is nice. It's very nice.
Okay, well.
No, we don't get Pepsi Max in America. I believe.
You know, if all you want from life, Sam Smith, is fast trains, then you must spend all of your time commuting.
That's what type is the most likely type to commute a lot?
Probably ESTJ or ISTJ. What about ESTJ?
My dad used to like public transportation.
You want some?
Yeah, please. That's good.
I think Joe Rogan's an ESTP.
I do too.
You know, here's the thing. We spend a lot of time talking about who's to blame for things, or what's the right general perspective. But it never boils down to that. It's always like, well, what ought we do about this specific situation in this specific instance? And those are the questions we're not really talking about because we're not really interested in making progress. We're interested in getting the political enemies to realize their wrongness.
That's what I was playing.
Or Nicole asked an important question.
That's what I was going to get to.
What are Uncrustables? What aren't Uncrustables? They're delicious.
Mm-hmm.
They're soft.
They're circular.
They're filled with gooey goodness. They're peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with no crust. They're circles.
It's like a pocket of goodness inside. Did you say that too?
Something equivalent. I'm not sure.
It really is. It's like, oh, so good. And the bread is so soft.
Lauren Nicole, you were not lying. You do want some. These things are well worth anybody getting. I mean, you might think, well, they're kind of expensive for a box of like 15 Uncrustables is like 10, 11 bucks, 12 bucks, but not really that much. It's less than $1 a piece. And they're surprisingly filling, even though they're only like 350 calories.
I had it for lunch.
You know, maybe they'll ship them overseas to you, Laura.
Yeah.
You could email what company makes these?
Schmuckers.
Schmuckers Company. Let's see. Can I ask you a few questions and figure your type accurately? No.
I would love to email food to people. That's like a dream I had.
All right. First question, Razor. What type are you? That'll really help me figure it out.
Exactly, Lorna. Cool. Nickel.
What we need are some long-range drones. If I had a long enough range drone, I could fly all the way across the sea your Uncrustables on a drone to Scotland.
What a nice surprise that would be.
It would
Amazon does that.
It has to be some long-range drones, though. I want to fly it myself with my own drone. I want a drone with a 25,000-mile charge.
I want to. So Nicholas Watson said that he gets Pepsi Max in Texas. What does it taste like? Nicholas Watson.
Imagine a normal amount of Pepsi and then maximize it by like 100.
Does it make it Coke?
Who told Rachel to make you a sandwich? You're saying Lorna did? So you don't know if you're INFP or INFJ? It's not dumb. It's a lot of people have difficulty determining a type because there's so many conflicting pieces of information out there and stuff. Put it this way. If really you know that you could always spend more time introspecting and find deeper and deeper layers of self, then you're probably an INFP. If you know that other people are often careless and oblivious to things,
Me?
then you're probably INFJ.
What am I oblivious to?
No, I'm saying if you think other people are.
Oh.
INFPs say if I had more time for introspecting, then I would have endlessly peel back the layers of self. But INFJs say other people are difficult in missing the subtext.
Yeah, true. Subtext is big. What up, CJ O'Connell?
What about INTP and INTJ in this case? Well, if you're wondering whether you're an INTJ or an INTP, well, the thing is, a TI DOM is very different than an NI DOM with TE tool.
There's nothing on the back. Just I'm feeling his bones and muscles and his loins. They're very tender. I'm petting him.
If you are an INTJ, well, okay. So look, like let's analyze a little bit of information we have right here on Homie. So Home Fries comes in and says, first thing it says, can you ask me a few questions and figure my type accurately as possible? So it's interesting. It's just kind of a TE frame, right? He's coming in with a specific purpose and wants to know if that's even possible. And he says, I took a test, got INTJ. I do know I have FI. And then says, I guess suggested you do a video on this if I have the time. But I have TE too. I do seem to be doing well when I have anything typed and ready for use. I don't understand what that means exactly, but Mexican cartels figured it out. Remote control small submarines. Good idea. I should do Debate Police. Debate Police was not popular. I didn't get very many views. None of the Debate Police ones I did got very many views. Eddie Van Halen died of Kansas.
Sad.
INFPs can explain some things. They just don't want to explain certain things. If you're at work or something, INFPs can explain things. Well, if they're explaining a simple enough thing, I guess.
Work.
We're
the people at work.
I mean, David Sanderson, I don't think my main problem is that I'm not getting the attention of bigger YouTuber online personalities. I don't think people want to debate me. That's what I think. What's on the back of the shirt of Eric? Nothing. We answered that question, huh? Trust me, if you were INFJ, you would have blocked me now. Well, no, you are so full of piss and vinegar.
That's a good statement.
Oh, Oliver.
Phrase.
Oliver's throwing down the proverbial gauntlet.
So, how many people here like glam 80s rock like Van Halen?
I kind of like Van Halen. I used to like Van Halen.
They were popular. I grew up after their time, so I didn't have like much experience with them. But I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, they do have some good tracks. I always felt, you know what? I'm just gonna hold my opinion to myself.
Might as well jump. Might as well jump. I remember that album, 1984, very clearly.
Wow.
Came out in
See,
1984.
it wasn't way before my time, but it was before my time. So I listened to a little bit of it, but
It was before your birth.
I will say,
By 2 years.
holding on to 80s pop, even though it's coming back, that style, like I always thought that it was the harshest style to hang on to. You know how some people like they're like always holding on to their like style no matter what? Like,
Yeah, you don't want to hold on to 80s Hesher.
yeah, like, or like the What is Hesher?
Like it's like a heavy metaler who's not fully heavy
Yeah.
metaled out, but it's just sort of into like David Lee
Like
Roth is a
crimped
Hesher.
hair.
Like David Lee Roth, right?
Yeah.
He kind of wears normalish clothes, sort of. Like he doesn't wear like leather spikes
David
and
Lee
stuff,
Roth is a good.
but he's got long hair and he's kind of like, "Whew, wow, yeah.
Yes!
I can't drive. I
Yes!
can't drive 55."
Yes!
That's a
Oh
Hesher.
my god.
That's a
And
Hesher.
wait. Who was on that TV show where it was like Rock of Love?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember that guy's
Yeah. Who was on Rock of Love, guys? That guy, he was holding on to that look. Like he was like wearing eyeliner every day. I mean, look.
name. Yeah, he was in Motley Crue, right? That guy was in Motley
I don't
Crue.
know. I don't remember.
Jamie's Crying is a good song. Bret Michaels, that's right.
Bret
Poison.
Michaels, yes.
Poison.
Oh, and I actually like some songs from Poison too. So like, this is just a thing that I've noted for my own personal taste. When I was growing up, and I would observe certain people, the ones that held on to like the 80s, like acid wash, jean jacket, crimped hair, pink eyeshadow look, it was really hard for me to be like, you look rocking, girl. I gotta be like, you look like you're holding on to something, girl.
Let's bring you a little bit more into the contemporary look. I want to take you out shopping. First, we're going to get you out of this bonnet. Women normally don't wear bonnets anymore. It's a little bit dated.
You have long hair and shredding. Not even shredding, like bad guitar solos and like bad solos, like
I mean, Guns N' Roses did kind of come along and take the radio sort of by storm a little bit with Appetite for Destruction.
Literally, CJ, kind of exactly.
Well, welcome to the jungle.
Yes.
And of course, Axl Rose taught us all a new dance.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. CJ O'Connell, you're so getting it. Yes. I like that you missed that vibe. That's cool.
Justin
Yeah.
Kuritsky's? Justin Kuritsky's? I don't know who that
I don't
is.
know who that is either. No, I'm singing Aerosmith now. Oh, Jamie's got a gun.
That's Aerosmith's only good song, pretty much.
much.
Who are Dylan Moran and Eddie Izzard? I don't know. I don't know who those people are.
Eddie Izzard is like a flamboyant British dude. I think he had he's known for, I don't know what he tries to be known for stuff, but he's obviously clearly not defined enough for me to remember what he's known for. So he isn't that big.
Which public intellectual sickens me most? I really don't like that astronomy guy.
Sunnyside?
No. I'm talking.
Leo?
I'm not talking about astrology. I'm talking about astronomy. I'm talking about that guy who goes on talk shows. Neil deGrasse. I don't like him at all.
Oh, Neil deGrasse?
That's the
Tyson.
first person that popped into my head. That guy is just like, okay.
He wears the sweater, he's kind of short and stout.
Well, the thing I hate is how he presents really blah things as though they're extraordinary and science amazing, right? It'd be like, so it turns out when we heat up that water, it turns into vapor. It's called steam. Yeah, shit for brains. I know. You can make steam by heating up water. Woohoo! I mean, Zizek is. I don't think it's like he's not influential enough. He can't be influential. That's the thing about Zizek. He's kind of harmless because unlike ENFP scholars like Judith Butler or fucking Foucault, there's some that I'm not a big fan of, right? Unlike those two, those are earnest ENFPs who just don't have any clue that they're not making any sense and keep trying to force it into sounding like it's making sense at some point. Zizek knows he's not making any sense and is purposely making it more complicated and convoluted so that nobody can unwind it all because he's an ENTP. He doesn't even, he's just like, dude, here's what happened. Zizek said, okay, so let's see, I could just keep doing this and I can afford all the cocaine I want. Mom, fuck it. I just do a bunch of blow and write this nonsense. These college kids are eating it up. They pay $30 for a ticket to my communism symposium. $30 a head, plus $15 for a t-shirt. And this is a communism symposium I'm putting on here.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, you gotta make ends meet when you got $1,000 a week blow habit.
That's cute, Razor M.
Look at this quote. Let me see. If you want to make a thing, never stop counting, never make it stop. It will work. And anyway, it does.
See, it sounds nice, but I actually think when applied, it can actually harm because it could be like someone who actually like needs to get out of a relationship or a work situation or a friendship even can be like, this just isn't working.
But they might not want it. I mean, it's a weird quote. I don't know if it's really saying much of anything. Then if you want something to not stop counting, if you want something to continue counting forever or something like that, then never make it stop.
Yeah, if you
Never make it stop. It will work in any way it does. Well, the thing is, lots of times stuff stops working on its own. It doesn't require you to do anything.
like a light bulb.
Like a clock, for example. Or yeah, sure, a light bulb, like a clock. You know, if the clock stops, runs out of batteries, it's at 4 p.m., then yes, it does stop counting time. And I didn't do anything to make it stop. And it is no longer working in any way. It's actually not working. So yeah, Oliver, Lawnmower, you should listen to what Oliver's saying a little bit here. You should kind of check yourself. You don't want to be that guy. I don't mean to, I'm not trying to bust your chops or anything. I'm just saying you don't want to be that guy. There is a lot of prickliness, okay? You got a lot of prickliness, and that's fine. We all get prickly sometimes.
It matches your name.
It would match it better if his name were Cactus Mower. That's not necessary mood. That's not helping. It tells us more that we had no control over the clock. Okay, but what if I had wanted the clock to keep counting? If I had followed your advice, then I simply never made it stop. Well,
Can I give you a kiss on the cheek?
Sure. Then you see its effects forever. But it doesn't mean that it's counting. Well, I mean, that assumes that counting is a status that retains its shape, so to speak, indefinitely, rather than a process that has to continue durationally or cease to exist. No. In other words, do you know what I'm saying? No. A broken clock is never telling the time. It's merely a memorial statue to the moment when it broke. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Razor, I will give you a right back at you and say you brought some interesting notions into the mix here. I appreciate it.
I wonder, NI first and SI eighth, if they are hand jugglers. Like, as I was going outside before I sat outside on the porch, I was juggling in my hands like 4 objects. Actually 5. And I was thinking, I'm like, oh, like, this seems to be like an NI thing, because I've seen like INTJs do it too, but I've also seen ISFJs also with like a cup of coffee and like a bunch of stuff in their hands. Like, do you, Winston's mom, do you find yourself juggling things in your hand when you're trying to, when you like go to from the car to your house, or like when you're running out the door from one place to another?
Interesting. Well, so the thing is, this is an always, not always, but generally, and certainly now, from my perspective, a very interesting discursive environment, because every live stream has its own little history. It's like the history of the United States has some wars and it has some peace times and whatever. The history of any live stream around here typically has those periods as well, especially once it gets up to around the 2-hour mark and it has a few different kind of topics that get covered more and less, and arguments that happen and stuff.
The number of people tends to be around the same, though. I'd say from like 16 to 30. It stays within that.
Oh yeah, the number of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something that I don't know quite what to make of, except it's possible that I simply have exhausted the population of people that would be interested in watching this regularly, or participating in it regularly. It would seem as though that since I live stream so frequently, and that I'm so much involved in generally engaging with the people in the chat, that the stream would start to grow, but it really hasn't. It just hasn't. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know if it's because of something implicit in the stream itself, if it has to do with there was a stretch of time where I feel as though YouTube was kind of shadow suppressing me, but I don't think that's happening anymore. Let's see here. Yeah, I've got my regular. I mean, the thing is, it's weird. It's the channel's gone through different periods of time since it started, 7 years ago or whatever, basically. And there's, despite the fact that the 25 people who are here now are all different, even like 3 years ago, it'd be like 25 people.
Ago.
And they'd be all totally different people than there are now, but still the same number. So, it's weird. I don't know what to make of it. It's like, it's no fun once it gets over 26.
So maybe the hand juggling thing is a TE Polar thing. It might be.
All right, we're gonna have 5 minutes here left on this stream. I'm giving you a 5-minute warning. We're gonna
Where's my?
wind it down at that point because I feel like I've been in front of the computer forever. I kind of want to. Is it Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday?
I think the baseball game's on.
Yeah,
the
there.
Dodger game.
Ooh, I'd be interested. So I think Tyler Durden is ESTP. He has a club that's called Fight Club. That's more ESTP than ENTP. Oh yeah. ENTPs fight with the words. ESTP fight with the guns.
I'm pretty sure
The guns.
that an atom the size of a basketball would have to be comprised of many, many atoms.
many basketballs.
When I am moving around, I've already considered how I will carry what I need to carry at when I to a fault.
So then
Yeah,
it's TE. It's more of a TE Polar thing.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely seen like people who are ISFJs who like have their like cell phone, coffee, handbag, keys, magazine, paper, whatever. Like I noticed that a lot.
Yuck, lamafau. That's hilarious. No, I don't think so. It's just that Chuck Palahniuk wrote the book, and he's gay, and the movie is definitely kind of a toxic masculinity critique.
Thank you.
I mean, you're talking about Fight Club?
Yeah, Fight Club. I think that Tyler Durden is ESTP. I mean, he has a Fight Club.
It's true. But it's interesting the author's gay.
That is interesting that the author is gay.
Makes a lot more sense, actually. Now that you realize that. It's all about dudes, really, that movie. I haven't read the book. I shouldn't say.
I haven't read the book.
In the
movie, the whole so in the movie, Tyler Durden sets everything up, right, for the world to crash down. And in the end, what the Edward Norton character realizes is that, I need love to keep me sane. And he ends up holding hands with the crazy chick, who goes to Helena Bonham Carter, her character.
I don't really remember her, I guess.
So it didn't make that. I forgot for the longest time how it ended too, because that's not the effective part. But they're trying to say is that what the Edward Norton character.
Was it the same lady who was in Being John Malkovich? The black-haired lady?
No.
Oh.
No.
That was a rare example of a good movie that didn't have any likable characters on it.
No likable. They always use the Edward Norton character as an example of INFJ.
Edward Norton in what?
In Fight Club.
Oh.
They say that Edward Norton is the INFJ and that ESTP is his, other self, Tyler Durden. If you haven't seen that movie already, sorry, but
Meatloaf is responsible for one of history's most famous love songs. I will do anything for you,
love,
for love, but I won't do that. I think it's great. I think it's really, it
says so much with so few words.
Yeah, it really, it's.
That's your dad's favorite song? What is the thing that your dad won't do?
Yourself, let me just say this: that what I would probably like you to do, what would be helpful or what would move things along, is if you would basically, I need to put up I don't know, do what you want with the bass or whatever, but If I put up the tracks that I have currently as I have them set up as individual tracks, then ideally, if you would send like an arrangement that maybe has a change in it too, maybe, I don't know, something. Maybe we could work out a change. But then if you send me like an arrangement that I could just put vocals over, then I can record the vocals. Those vocals are recorded badly and it's sort of half. I was just working it out, but it's a kind of a blueprint for what I'll work off the vocals off of for when I do it.
Do you think it's so funny that Laura Nichols' dad never tells her what's the one thing that he won't do? He loves the song, he won't answer the question.
3-year nomad. I'm talking about this project I'm working on with Utter Self, which is he sent me a beat and then I put down some loops, put them together, and meow. So that's actually a different thing. I'm sitting on that other thing, not sure what I'm doing with it at the moment, but I think I'm probably pretty happy with the last mix master of it, the one that Utter Self and Horse Longboard were arguing over. I kind of, it's like, it's rare that somebody says something like, are we listening to the same song? And they don't mean it in an FE sense. But in that sense, I was, well, which one? Not the one that appears most recently in the videos, because that's the oldest one, but it was unlisted for a long time, and I made it public. It's the second one. It's the one that says, make sure you're listening to the right one. I don't think it's. I mean, I'll definitely send you the tracks if you want them, and if you, it's just like I battle with things so much. At some point, I kind of throw up my hands. So this is the one that says,
Santa Anas from the east are blowing, driving on this mountain fire. Grant and Lana at best be cool.
But interestingly, people apparently agree with you because, well, it's hard to say for my shit. 5 thumbs down, 2 thumbs up. That's like, if I just published this song without the context, then I'm sure it wouldn't have done that badly. But I don't know. Maybe you're right. At this point, I am just. Oh, did you say some mean things about him? I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't read through all this shit, really.
Night, Jar Lamb.
The thing is, I've listened to the previous one and that one multiple times. I really do think the more recent one is better, but ever hold my notes in song? Sometimes. Like, let's see.
Hi, Pee-Pee.
I would say
Oh. This one.
that one song, what's it called?
I was gonna say something.
I can't remember what it was.
Sometimes that happens in life.
This one.
To know the right time when to make a move or stand aside is the time of more or for your life.
Time is the difference, not the distance. It's too slow counting things in seconds and inches. Yeah, well, I mean, I've got so many songs. I do have plenty of ballads and stuff too. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good singer. Some, you know, I have songs that really like work in my wheelhouse and songs that don't. That is relative. It is near compared to the distance between here and the Andromeda Galaxy, but very far compared to the distance between electrons in an atom. Quote by a bot. If bands can be types, I think OK Go is like your type. Can I sing Country Roads? I really don't actually know that song very well.
Country Roads?
Take Me Home, Country Road,
That's
West Virginia. I can't. It's like I don't feel like I know the melody except for the chorus.
in that song, Whisper of the Heart. Yeah, it made me confused because I was like, what came first, the movie or the song? I think it's the song, but they were trying to like Americanize, like you said. So they used that song, and then the girl's like, yeah, but I didn't like how it sounded, so I made my own one. And she talks about her concrete roads everywhere she goes. But I don't know. That part confused me.
Well, what's a song that's like that I could play? God, the freaking leaf blowers constant.
There's still lawnmowers and stuff.
Constant leaf blowing. Why?
Can you close the door?
Yeah. Have to fucking garden.
I'll pass through before you start.
Let's see. Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia, Georgia, a song of you comes so sweet and clear as moonlight through the pines. Other arms reach out to me. Other eyes smile tenderly. Still in peaceful dreams I see the road leads back to you. Georgia, Georgia, no peace I find just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. That's a nice song. Originally composed by Sting of the Police, I believe.
Really?
It's by Ray Charles.
Oh.
Let's see, what other fun songs are there to play?
I was thinking in my head, I'm like, that's a real different change for Sting.
Let's see here. Play. I fall to pieces each time I see you again. Yeah, I fall to pieces. How can I be just your friend? You want me to act like we've never kissed. You want me to forget and pretend we've never met. I've tried and I've tried, but I still haven't yet. You walk on by and I fall to pieces. I fall to pieces each time someone speaks your name. I fall to pieces. Time only adds to the flame. You tell me to find somebody else to love. Someone who loved me too the way you used to do. Each time I go out on the blood, and I fall to pieces. Something like that.
It sounded really good.
Thanks, darling. You're a special someone who has an important place as my life partner in my heart.
Oh, and you're not just throwing around the word.
No, I love you.
I love you too.
You're my extremely special lady.
You're my extremely special man.
Well, Mama Pajama rolled out of bed and she ran to the police station. When the papa found out, he began to shout and that's throughout the investigation. It was against the law. It was against the law. Only Mama saw. This is wrong. This one, they didn't get it right. Which happens
That
sometimes.
happens to you.
No, well, sometimes people put tabs up and they just don't get it right. You know. It's just the sort of thing that happens. What are you gonna do? Find a better version, I guess. This is wrong too. It's funny. It's so easy to figure out too. Why would they get this wrong? It's not even a challenging thing to get. It's weird what what happens in the world sometimes when things are sad.
Mm-hmm. Or like when your expectations don't meet reality. Like, what happened there?
I know. Sometimes I feel so happy. Sometimes I feel so sad. Sometimes I feel so happy. But mostly you just make me mad. Baby, you just make me mad. Linger around. Pale blue eyes. Linger around. Pale blue eyes. Well, I thought of you as my mountaintop. I said I thought of you as my mountaintop. Thought of you as my peak. Thought of you as everything I've had but couldn't keep. I've had but couldn't keep. Your pale blue eyes linger around. Your pale blue eyes. I could make the world as pure and strange as what I see. I put you in a mirror that I put in front of me. I put in front of me. Linger around. You pale blue eyes. Linger around. You pale blue eyes.
I like that song.
That's a pretty good song.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad of a song. Velvet Underground has some good numbers. They've got some peppy numbers. They've got some dreary numbers. What's the matter with the clothes I'm wearing? Can't you tell that you're right or wide? Maybe I should wear the tail collar from back to the edge and jive. Where have you been hiding out lately, honey? You can't dress trashy till you spend a lot of money. Cause everybody's talking about the new sound funny, but it's still rock and roll. What's the matter with the car I'm driving? Can't you tell that it's out of style? Should I get a set of white wall tires? Are you gonna cruise a miracle mile? Nowadays you can't be too sentimental. Your best bet is true, baby, true cause it's hot funk, cool punk, even if it's old junk, it's still rock and roll. It doesn't matter what they say in the paper, cause it's always been the same old scene. There's a new band in town and you can't get the sound from a story in a magazine aimed at your average teen. How about a pair of pink sidewinds and a bright orange pair of pants? You could really be a Bull Rumble, baby, if you just give it half a chance. Don't waste your money on a new set of sneakers. You get more miles from a cheap pair of sneakers, cause the next phase, new wave dance crazy anyway, still rock and roll with me. Everybody talking about it, doesn't sound funny, but it's still rock and roll with me.
Nice. Good job, babe.
That's such a good song.
Such a good song.
That one really, it plays beautifully. It's like, it's so nice to play. Are you on the phone?
Oh, your dad's calling me.
Can you answer it?
Yeah.
All right, in this live stream.
Oh, I got too late.
All right, I'll call it back. See you, everybody. Thanks for being here.